Hey, Happy New Year. Today is a really neat day for me because it marks 1 full year of doing bee removals out here in far west Texas. I started this whole process with beekeeping, and that kind of led to doing bee removals for 2 reasons. The first one is because it was needed, and the second one because I knew that it was going to push my limits and help me become a better beekeeper. So I decided that I should share what I've done in 2023 as my first year doing bee removals. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of go over some of the lessons that I've learned, the hardships that I went through, and ultimately some of the stats behind saving some of these guys.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
So 2023 was my first year ever doing bee removals. I had spent 2022 learning from somebody else about beekeeping and bee removals, from swarms all the way to people's attics, and knew that I didn't want to do the hard stuff because I didn't have the equipment, I didn't have the time. And now that we're a year past that, I can laugh because that's the complete opposite of what happened. So I wanted to share 3 different lessons that I kind of dealt with and learned from this entire first year as a bee removal specialist. The first lesson that I learned pretty early on was move your way up in jobs. It's really easy to want to accomplish really difficult bee removals because they make more money and the hives are bigger and so on. But you have to know your limits, and it's okay to say no to jobs, to people, because you don't owe them anything. If the job is too daunting, just say no. And if you feel more comfortable later down the road to go back and do those jobs, they'll still be there. So as an example for this one, I was really early into the year, and this foundation asked me to go into this rotten house and remove a beehive out of a windowsill. And I did that, but we realized there were other bees on the other side of that house, and they were really aggressive. And knowing that the house was pretty dangerous, that I was going to be exposed to some pretty toxic stuff, and ultimately those bees were pretty hectic, I decided not to do it. But a few months later, I called them back and said, I can do this. Funny enough, I found another beehive, so I ended up doing 2 bee removals out of that same little pocket of that house, and they're both really aggressive, but I'm glad I could help them, and I felt a lot more confident doing that at that point of time instead of the first time I talked about it. So the second lesson that I learned was to be ready in any situation. Having the right equipment, making the right analysis of what's happening before you start the actual job is really, really important. Out here in far west Texas, it's pretty easy to end up down a dirt road with no cell service, no access to electricity or water, being very far from a store that can help you make your life easier or fix any problem that you have. I think it's important to say that you need to slowly move up in job difficulty, because even if you have the skills or the attitude to want to go do those things, if you don't have the proper equipment or help to do some of these jobs, it'll quickly get out of hand and you'll lose control. So part of my second lesson was understanding building materials. I think you bee removal guys, girls, end up just being demo people with the added benefit of removing bees, and understanding what houses are made of, how foundations are laid, how some old houses are done versus new houses, and ultimately being able to read the room, no pun intended, because a lot of times people who are like the owners will tell you, oh, they're coming out of that corner, so they're right there. And at the beginning, you kind of have to show them like, hey, that's not true, it's not here. We're gonna have to go from the inside and bust this tile up or cut this wall up. And ultimately asking them, is that okay? And they will cost a little bit more. And so understanding how houses are built and how buildings are built is really, really key, because a lot of times we don't bring the right equipment the first time. So my third and final lesson was to adapt quickly. Whether it's weather, people, equipment, the building materials, all of that can change in a second, and you need to be able to make split-second decisions because there are people around, because your livelihood is in danger, because the bees are in danger. All of those things can switch really quickly, and so having backup plans and being able to shift to a different thought process is really, really important. And as my final lesson example, I took out 3 different hives out of the same wall in the eaves, and I got roughed up by the last one I did. And one bee came inside my hood. I went to go remove it far away from the removal, and other ones came inside. And by the time I removed my hood, I was kind of getting attacked all the way down the street. And that was really a scary moment for me because I couldn't get my boots off. I was stuck on the ground. Nobody was even around to help me. And I was able to come out of that knowing, okay, I know what I need to do now. I need to finish, or I don't need to finish, but ultimately being able to adapt and say, okay, I have something to reduce the swelling. I have water. I have ways to get myself to the hospital if I need to, versus I need to finish this job because people will be exposed and in danger. So yeah, it's really important to kind of like always be aware of your surrounding and being able to adapt so that if something goes wrong, you can move on to a plan B or C. I ended up doing 28 bee removals, one of them being a swarm, which I thought was going to be the bulk of my work, but it wasn't. I was really happy that once I filled up my apiary the first time, that I could relocate them to different places around here, so Fort Davis in Alpine. And by the time we entered winter, I finished with 5 strong hives that are ready to go into the spring and be super productive. So in the end, I ended up saving about 330,000 bees, which is really cool because it's easy to get wrapped up in job metrics, you know, how much money you made, or if you were able to sell bees or sell honey. And in the end, if you take a step back, it's really neat to see how you've somewhat helped create a lasting impact by relocating bees or saving bees and collecting them for yourself. Out here in far west Texas, we're in the high desert, which you would maybe think there's no bees, but there are a ton of bees and a ton of different insects. And they have a great footprint out here, and they help things flourish and develop so that we can continue living a really good balanced ecosystem. So I hope all of that information was really helpful. I loved my first year as a bee removal specialist. There were a lot of like tough jobs, especially during the summer, but I'm really, really stoked that I was able to not only build my apiary, help others have bees in their gardens, and ultimately save as many bees as I could before they were exterminated or killed. If you like this video, make sure to press the like button and to subscribe to the channel. I'll be continuously sharing more information about this first year, but we'll catch you on the next one.
Oh, oh.